Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live stream. Luke's going hard on all the comments. We love seeing all your comments. I love seeing where you're all tuning in from. It's always amazing, especially if you're in Southeast Asia, because damn, it's late. So shout out to all of my 3 a.m.ers like Luke was it like 2 weeks ago now? Anyways, we have some fun stuff to share with you, some thoughts, ideas, things we're working on. There's a lot of different things in the works. If you tuned into our Twitter space yesterday, you know I was like rambling about how many different things are being worked on right now. So if you have any questions, throw them in the YouTube live chat or the Twitter live chat, not the comment section, the live chat on Twitter. It does exist. And let's keep it farmer friendly. Let's keep this one positive and fun. We're going to have a good time. Yeah, we've got lots going on. So let's bring up Luke.
Hey, everybody. Excited to be here today. No, we're finally getting some more concrete updates out. So we'll kind of give you guys an overview on like what's coming. We'll give a date this time too. I'm like very hesitant to give out dates normally, but I think it's finally time. We have an agenda today. Here, let me pull that up really quickly. I should have done this a little earlier. It's gonna be a good AMA today. I'm excited. Today, what are we going to go over? We're going to go over the normal weekly updates. We're going to talk about chapter 2.5, what you can expect. We're going to talk about some quality of life updates that we're doing, and we're going to dive into some of the future plans again and talk a little bit more about ecosystem, some of the stuff that we're working on there, some of the stuff we have planned there as well. So yeah, maybe let's just dive right into it. So chapter 2.5, it's been long enough, right? We know the current state of the game and how you guys are feeling is not so positive. We know where we're at right now. We know that you guys have things that you want to see change. We know that there's some things that need to get fixed. And yeah, we're finally going to start pushing out some updates. So we'll talk to you guys about what that looks like, how we're kind of planning on piecing it, and what the plan is. So right now, current state of the game, how we see it is, honestly, in the last week or two, there's been some positive developments in some of the bot detection and prevention. I think maybe I want to dive into that like really quickly at first. We caught like a couple of really big bot farms like a week and a half ago, and it's caused some interesting game meta changes, right? It kind of skyrocketed the price of energy. And then we also saw a lot of angry botters in the comments yesterday. I actually like got to learn a little bit more about like the extent of it. Apparently there were like maybe like 5 to 10 different companies that were like full-time botting pixels, and we kind of caught them. So yeah, it's interesting how Web3 works, because that has an effect on some people, right? Like there were, people full-time botting pixels, and yeah, obviously they're not going to be very happy when we ban them. But we got some good progress on that, and it's basically affected like some of the stuff. It also ties into the chapter 2 changes that we're trying to make as well. So chapter 2.5, a lot what we're trying to do is get some like the game economics under control, right? So resources and coins have been inflating a lot. And the first changes with chapter 2.5 are going to kind of involve fixing some of the game economy. So here, let's dive into exactly what we have planned. We're kind of thinking about releasing chapter 2.5 in a couple of different parts. It's been long enough since we've gotten the concrete update out to you guys that changes game meta, changes game balance for the better, where we know that we just got to get some stuff out quicker, sooner, and earlier. But there's more that we want to get out in chapter 2.5 as well, besides this kind of stuff. So essentially how I'm kind of thinking about it is we're going to release chapter 2.5 in 3 different parts, maybe like 4 to 5 different parts, honestly. But the first stuff that we're going to be getting out is the game meta and game balance changes that are so desperately needed inside of the game. A lot of what we're trying to target right now is around basically coin inflation, resource inflation, and a lot of the things that are making game economy not feel so good. Then what we were trying to do at first was we were trying to get it with we were trying to release this with some of the cool other like game features that we're releasing too. We're going to move those into a part 2. So essentially things like boosts and upgrades, this new feature called rotating store, things like coin gotchas, things that'll just like add some more fun to the game mechanics. And then we're working on some bigger features inside of chapter 2.5 as well. And those will be like very, very new features that you guys haven't really experienced yet. And that'll probably add some more end game content as well too. So part 3 of the release will look like this new feature that we're working called merchant ships. Essentially, it's going to be like much larger orders. It's kind of like task forward, but not really. It'll be like a fun, more aesthetic feature. with like larger end goals to work towards, different types of rewards that aren't in the game right now. We're working on a new Guild Wars system. Guild Wars, we'll talk about that a little bit later. It's going to look a lot different when we do it next. Essentially how it's going to work is it's going to be open for like 1 hour a day, or like, 2 hours a day when we go and do it. And then it'll be ongoing too. We kind of want it to be like season based. So there's some cool stuff there. And we're working on new content. When I talk about new content, it's things like new industries, like new things to start to earn inside of the game, on-chain content, all this kind of stuff. So let's focus on part one, because that's the stuff that we're going to try to get out first. So part one, I think the first part of it's going to release actually pretty soon. It might even be before October 15th. That's going to be changes to the way that energy works inside of the game. And Heidi, you might have some insights onto how that is going to work, right? I think we're making some changes to how you can purchase energy, how you get some energy, all of that.
Yeah. Okay. So I've talked about this a lot. I think I mentioned it on the last AMA. I've talked about it in Discord a few times with people, but right now it's pretty ridiculous that bots are almost controlling the energy being sold through the marketplace and whatnot, which I already said is ridiculous. And so what we're going to do, the plan is to make wines not tradable, and then we will sell something so that we can have a better control of what the cost is for these items. So that should be coming very shortly. And it's gonna be a really good update. I'm excited for that one.
Nice. And then, yeah, with that too, so the changes that we're trying to get out by October 15th, or might be like a little bit later, but we're going to really, really try to push this October 15th date, are also things like the new task board, new recipes, some things that affect coin inflation too. And then item durability changes too. So there's some cool stuff coming with durability. That's gonna be one of the biggest economy impacts that we're gonna have. Basically, we're gonna start to introduce the concept of tool durability and even industry durability too. There's a couple questions that we have for you guys, and we'll probably bring this up in the next AMA on how exactly we want to implement this and how we go about it. But yeah, these are finally the changes that are gonna start to release and get out to you guys and feel tangible and make a big difference in the gameplay. So we're really excited about it. We know that there's going to be some interesting stuff here, right? It's going to change the way that you guys play the game a lot. And how I think about this is, you need a good economy to actually drive everything else inside of the game, right? If you're earning coins and then coins are inflating every single day, it doesn't feel as worth earning coins, right? We have to get some of these issues under control. That also makes it so that we can introduce more content that makes more sense too. So in part two, one of the things I'm really excited about are things like boost and upgrades that we can start to introduce too. So for example, we're working on some stuff where if you use a certain item, it gives you like a bigger advantage when you're mining, makes your mining more efficient, increases like some of the earnings that you might get from the industries, all of this kind of stuff. You can't implement any of that until, actually we have some of the economy under control. But then we can also start to introduce things like rotating stores. If you ever played a game like Destiny, the rotating store is like a pretty interesting concept we're pulling from there. It's basically going to be a new type of way to get some items that are really, really limited. So essentially you'll like get the opportunity to go and get them. It might be things like boost. It might be things like cosmetics. It might be things like utility items, maybe even industries in the long run. But they'll basically only be available in the store like for, a week at a time. You'll have the opportunity to get them. If you don't, then that's the last time they're going to be in there. It'll be pretty fun. We're going to be introducing new gacha mechanics too that use coins. The team is really focused on coin sinks in the short run. We want to make it so that it feels really worth it to get new items inside of the game. Makes it feel like it's more worth it to get coins. And that way, all the work that you do inside of the game just feels better too. And then this is also like a part of a bigger conversation of the things that we're working on to make the game feel a little bit better too. So we were talking a lot today inside of the team in like one of our design meetings on, how do we make the game feel a bit better? Like one of the conversations that we started having today was around like cooldown times in industries. Like right now, they're really, really aggressive. You start mining a mine and then you go through all the mines on one land, and then you already have like a dozen mines that need to get mined again. There's probably some meta shifts that we'll do where it's like, we might even do something like increasing energy used per industry, but increasing cooldown time and also increasing drop rate. We even talked about things like removing the failures on mines. Like there's a lot of stuff that we've been talking about. that are finally going to start to get shipped. And this is some of the stuff that we want to have a conversation with you guys on, like how we do this and what you guys think is best too. We've been talking a lot about, adding votes to this kind of stuff. And I think the AMA is the best first place to get the feel on, how you guys might think about a new system that we're going to be introducing, how you guys might like react to this. And I think my strategy is basically like, I think we talk about this in the AMAs and then we start to get some of the feedback and then we'll put up some of the decisions to a vote. And some of the decisions with the vote might be things like, this is not the right example, but I think one of the good examples would be like this cooldown thing. It's like, okay, do you guys like the quick cooldowns, or would you rather have it be longer and then get more from each industry when you go and mine it? There's like a couple of different things that, we actually think that you guys should decide, because you guys have a much better feel sometimes than the team even on what's going to be better, like what you guys like more. And we've noticed, it's funny because if you put this vote to like a free-to-play game, it might not feel the same, but you guys actually are pretty smart when it comes to like making good long-term decisions. One good example was when we put up a vote for like rewards inside of the Barney's Bazaar. You guys like chose some pretty good long-term options there. So I think there's some trust with our team and you guys that you guys actually probably know better than us sometimes. And I think that's going to be a lot of the strategy that we go with in the long run too. One good example of that is when we start to get the quality of life improvements with land stuff. And maybe I can bring that up now. So yeah, one of the other things that we're working on now too is we're working on basically bringing back some utility to some of the land traits. And we were in the landowners chat like this last week, and we pulled together a list of ideas from them on stuff that they thought would be like pretty good changes. And we're still looking at a lot of that list. And there's actually some great ideas from there. This is like one of the perfect examples of Web3 community-driven development. And we basically saw and heard like a lot of the issues that you guys had. And you guys also came to us with some solutions, which is really cool. So a couple of things we're going to start to introduce with, Operation on Rug Land is we hear a lot from you guys that you either want to land blacklist. So basically making it so that some players can't join a land if you blacklist them. The core problem from that is mostly due to crops. It's a lot of people that like will come onto your land and then they'll just leave dead crops there. It's not super cool. It's very annoying for a landowner to go through and cut them all, right? So a blacklist might solve that. The other thing that we could do, and maybe give us some feedback on what you guys think is better, is maybe like a mass remove dead crops feature. So if you have dead crops, maybe we just make it so landowner can like get them all out of the land really quickly. So maybe you don't need the blacklist that way. The next thing that we're going to be adding really soon is we're going to re-respect space and water crops. So Astrocactus, water mint, we're going to lock them to just space and water lands. And same thing with the solarium flowers too, right, Heidi?
Yeah, I made sure that one got in there.
Yep. And then the other thing that we're going to start to change too is the surplus. So when we started to make changes to some of the game meta and the game balance, the recipes are going to change. Like some of the game balance is going to change when you're interacting with like a mine or a tree or any of this kind of stuff too. It might affect the amount of surplus you get on a land. What we're going to start to do is we're going to actually start to increase that surplus percent too. So yeah, these are like really basic quality of life improvements that we can start to bring to you guys. And yeah, we'll start to do that.
Yeah, no, this was a good list. This list was actually put together by, I think Legion had a huge play in it. A lot of other players in our landowner chat on Discord. And then I went through the list, I think 3 times on a call with all of our farm hands. And we really dug in deep to all of the different points made, reasons why. And we really appreciate this kind of feedback. We can't always guarantee every single thing will work or be viable, but there was a lot of good stuff on there. And so, yeah, I took this to the design team. Luke and I have been rallying really hard for a lot of these different changes to get in. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. It'll be good.
Amazing. Yeah, here, I'm trying to see if there's questions on this part before we move on to the next stage. So like the next stuff that we're going to start to talk about is the ecosystem stuff too, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of questions here. So like maybe let's try to pull some of this in. Talking, but nothing changed. guys, we had to spend some time actually fixing some of the core issues here. Yeah, we're going to push an update out. We're probably saying the date October 15th, right? But you're going to start to see more consistent changes. We had a backlog of basically design and like changes that we had to go and pull and figure out. Now we're finally going to start shipping them. Oh, one thing that we haven't shared in a little bit is the sprint dashboard. And I think that's always a good tool to share. So let me pull that up now. I can show you guys exactly the stuff that's in this sprint, and kind of give you guys visibility into like what exactly is like getting worked on in these 2 weeks. So it's basically all the stuff that we put in there. And then there's some of the longer term stuff that we're working on too. So yeah, this is that sprint dashboard that we talk about, right? You've noticed like a lot of the stuff that we had in previous sprints, it's getting closed, it's getting done, and now they're finally getting ready to like release and ship. But yeah, this is all the stuff that we're kind of getting out, right? So gotcha mechanics, we're working on merchant ships. We're working on a new leaderboard feature that is going to tie into the Guild Wars stuff. We're working on Boost. There's some cool stuff with the ecosystem with authentication, and like I'll dive into some of the ecosystem plays that we're working on. We're making changes to bot wine energy. Telegram's coming out. We're working on more chase content. And oh yeah, reputation systems got reworked too. The new reputation system will be pretty effective. I'm excited to get that out, released. Really what our goal with a lot of this is again, we're still really trying to innovate on Web3 user acquisition. And what Web3 user acquisition is its earnings. So a lot of the stuff that we're trying to work on here is how do we get earnings to the right players? What's the tech that we need to do that? What are the game mechanics that we need to do that? How do we do this in a sustainable way? So there's a few different things we have to think about when we think about actually getting earnings to the right players, right? And like to build a sustainable Web3 ecosystem. The first is you need a good game that people actually want to be playing for the game. And, you know, we know that that's actually not our strongest point in the state of chapter 2 right now. So there's a couple of things that we're doing here, right? Like we have to fix game economy. We have to go and build out new game features. We have to like do all this work here. There's also ecosystem development that we're doing too, right? So a lot of what I've been thinking about is how we can like 10x these systems. How can we like get more content inside of the game, the ecosystem, all of this kind of stuff. But yeah. Here, let's see if we can pull some comments on these chapter 2 things before we move on to like ecosystem and the rest of that.
Haven't seen a ton of questions. I just took a scroll through like landowners chat, and they're just excited to see what gets implemented.
Yeah, here's one. How do you guys sleep? How do you justify about removing all traits about NFT lands, killing Coop and Mill, Waterman and Astras everywhere? Okay, so again, we just put a slide up there. This is stuff that's actually going to be coming back, like actually quite soon. We're going to try to get some of this stuff. Like some of these changes are actually pretty easy for us to get in. Like for example, the like crops going back to just specific land types. We had a conversation today about the mill again, bringing back flour exclusively to the mill. That's like it's probably going to happen. There's just like a few different balance things that we need to think about. But yeah, generally what I'm trying to get the team back into the mindset of is like the F it, ship it mindset again. You know, we've had some time to get new team members on board. We've had some time to, you know, have them sink in, dig their teeth. Like we have these new systems coming out, this new content coming out, and yeah, now we can actually finally get this all out. Like our team has more confidence now, and the promise and the relationship that we need to have with you guys now is we're going to start to release and ship a lot more. What you guys have to be okay with is some of the stuff that we release is not going to get like, it's not going to be perfect right away, right? So the mindset I have to get the team back into is basically this, you know, F it, ship it mindset where we ship more often and then fix things quickly. Right? That's what we did really, really well at for the last 2 or 3 years. If you remember chapter 1, the first release of chapter 1, a lot of you actually weren't here for that. It's like our core community that was here for that, right? This is even before we were on Ronin. Chapter 1 game balance is really bad at first, and the team basically got it to a good spot by pure brute force. We updated so frequently, like probably like 3 to 4 times a week at some weeks. And it worked really well for that. So there's a middle ground of what we need to do here, right? I want to get into the like, you know, at least weekly cadence of game update and game balance changes again. We have the team and like the right people to do that now. And yeah, it's kind of like it's a mix, right? We're bigger than we were before, and there's more pressure from community from like every single angle to get things right quicker. But at the same time, like there is an element of like just taking risks and making sure that we're listening to you guys often and getting the stuff in. So yeah, we're working on it. We have stuff coming out soon. I think we're finally turning that corner there. And yeah, I think we're gonna prove some people wrong. Yeah, task board's so important. Please fix it first. Yeah, so task board here. Let's talk about exactly what's going to change about task board. Basically, the task board, we're doing a complete rewrite on it, which is going to mean a lot of meta changes into the game too. Right now inside of the game, there's things that don't make sense with the task board at all. And I think you guys know and feel that, right? Like, for example, the early industries like tier 1s and tier 2s can actually output more coins than if you're farming tier 4 industries very consistently. And that's actually not how it's supposed to work at all. Initial like go at the game balance was completely wrong. My team had to come in. We had to basically rewrite all of it. And that's going to be the change that comes here. So the game's going to feel a little bit different, especially if you're like primarily used to the meta of farming just tier 1, tier 2. It's actually probably going to make more sense for you if you're like a tier 1, tier 2 farmer to finally level up and get onto the tier 3 and tier 4s. And that's the kind of stuff we're going to be introducing here.
Someone just asked, when will the energy update happen? So I actually just pinged our team, and they're suggesting tomorrow or the following day, given everything is ready to go, tested, solid, etc. So let's go.
I haven't used the mill since chapter 1, LOL. Yeah, there's some issues like that, right? So part of what we did was like we brought on a new design team, right? And they're really great. I'm so confident in like the future of the game. It took some time to get them up to date, like on board and up to speed and everything like that. Now we have to we've also been like filling them in on the context too, right? Because like there's years of gameplay here that, somebody coming in doesn't really know. And this is the kind of stuff that we're leading now. So I think we're finally finding the right balance of like, me and Heidi, like founder led decision making and then like expert led decision making. And it's finally happening. We're like, this is merging together. It's kind of exciting on the team. I feel really positive about it. And yeah, it's the kind of stuff that like basically like these AMAs are the time to ask it. Cause like I and Heidi are going to be leading these kinds of changes here. So if things don't make sense, like the mill or the coop, all of that, like use these AMAs as the time to say it, because that's the kind of time where we're going to bring this back to the team. And then we're going to start getting these changes out pretty quick now. There's a lot of things that just make sense that you guys all know and feel. And, we've been listening, we know also. But yeah, it helps to help us prioritize.
Okay, good question here. And I want to clarify this. So Unrug lands on chapter 2.5 or before. So when Luke and I first started talking about this concept of chapter 2.5, we kind of wanted to get feedback from you guys and just discuss this idea that we had to do a chapter 2 rewrite, because it really started to feel like we need to do this. And for a while, we were thinking it's going to just be this massive rewrite release coming all at once, kind of like chapter 2 was a rewrite. We've gone back to the drawing board. We've had extensive conversation with all of the teams involved and a lot of our community members, and have decided that the best way to move forward is to actually do this in a rollout release. So we are, with this energy release coming in the next couple of days, that's the start of chapter 2.0. 2.5. I wish I could say 2.0, but it doesn't make sense. That's the beginning of it. So this Unrug land, like you should hear me on these calls. I'm like, I want to do a release that we can literally say publicly is our Unrug landowner release. Now, will that actually happen? I'm not so sure. It will probably come out in segmented releases, just as everything else that's coming out in this rewrite. So yeah, we're already in it, guys.
Yeah, what we wanted to do at first was we wanted to like do a big release. We actually think that's the wrong choice now, where it's like, okay, we have big releases coming, right? Like a lot of these updates are going to be like patched together and they are going to be big. But there's also going to be like a trickle of them too, right? It's probably better for us to move quicker, get more stuff out more often than to put them in together like a big marketing release, chapter 2.5, right? Like there's current needs of the player base. You guys are suffering in some areas and we know it. And we want to get these fixes out to you guys quickly. So yeah, for V1 of this part, for adding space and water crops, we are referring to Astrocactus and Watermint, and then the Solarium flowers too. Once we start to get this game balance under control, then that's when we can start to move on to new content. So that means new crops, new industries, all this kind of stuff. And that's kind of the game plan, right? It doesn't make sense to add more stuff until we have the current stuff fixed. But more stuff actually would probably like add to fixing some of the issues too. I saw a really good point actually. Oh yeah, long cooldown, but make it so the player can use the same industry, because long cooldown plus limited industry and single use industries make land a rug. So one part of chapter 1 that we think worked a lot better than chapter 2 is you guys had to go to a lot of different lands, right? And that was actually like a really cool game meta before, where you like could only get certain industries on certain lands. The rarity, that whole game loop was pretty cool. I think that's a lot of this nostalgia from chapter 1, right? It's funny because like chapter 1, I know you guys have like a lot of nostalgia for it. If you guys remember the month before we released chapter 2, the sentiment wasn't that great around chapter 1 either. There were a lot of issues with it still. Chapter 2 improved some things and made some things worse. And we're trying to fix the worst things so that now chapter 2 will be overall a better product than chapter 1 was. But there's some parts about it that were better, like having to use different lands. So that's kind of the direction that we're trying to move. Like that's what we think might make the gameplay feel a little bit better. Now, if we make the industry single use, one interesting game loop in chapter 1 was the surplus loop, right? So if you had land and you had other people use it, you had pretty significant surplus. That doesn't exist in the same way in chapter 2. If we did things like increase cooldown times so that not as many people could use the industries at the same time, that would make it the surplus loop even worse, right? So one thing that we can do is increase surplus, right? I think we talked about increasing it from 1 to 3% at first. If it goes well and we see like some positive stuff there might be room to increase it more from that. But that's the kind of lever that we have to balance that side of the game loop too. I love that game loop. Like what I haven't seen in a while is I haven't seen like a lot of the ads for land that we used to see, right? I thought that was the coolest thing, when people were making ads, advertising their land, like doing a lot of user acquisition for us. What works really well in Web3 is basically making something where people help you grow. And I am a huge fan of that quote, show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome. That's where a lot of the game design is important, right? Like we have to actually create the systems to create those incentives to help us grow. So the landowner surplus is a good one because it helps landowners have an incentive to go and like get more people on their land, go advertise it. It's also kind of fun to do that, right? Another good example of that would be a referral system when we start to add that back too. There's a lot of things that we haven't like pressed on until we start to get some of these issues under control, or we'll start to do another growth push too. And we'll dive into that in the ecosystem stuff when we get there.
Okay, I just saw a good question on Discord, so I'm going to read it out. So bear with me here. Would it be difficult to segment the task board? Taking the VIP status as an example, when you don't have it, you lose 3 task board spots. Would it be possible to have specific spots for each skill? This way, players with specific skills leveled up wouldn't have an advantage over those who have skills leveled up. So we've talked about segmenting the task board a lot. And actually, we've talked about like switching up the UI a little bit a few times internally. Not sure if that is going to necessarily happen in one of these following updates. But yeah, Luke, do you want to talk a little bit about all of that?
Yeah, task board will look a little bit different actually when it gets released. So how it's going to change is it's going to be by skill moving forward. So there's going to be like 3 slots for stone shaping. There's going to be 3 slots for cooking, 3 slots for this.
We
kind
are
of stuff.
doing it. I didn't know if it was confirmed.
Yeah. And then the other stuff that we're working on too is we are working on data science and segmentation. And I nerd out about this kind of stuff. Like I do think this is the biggest part of Web3 gaming that needs to get solved still. I've been talking to a lot of other Web3 game founders lately, and it's interesting because I think now a lot of Web3 gaming is just kind of understanding what we've understood for a really long time. Targeted earnings, segmentation, data science, and like bot prevention and detection are actually like the core problems inside of Web3 gaming. Like how do you figure this out? How do you like actually solve for that? And how do you create a sustainable game economy that way? And yeah, a lot of what we're interested in is like smart task boards soon. So we have some cool updates on that. We just brought on like a whole data science team to help us with this basically and like accelerate this even more. I have a slide for it, but yeah, we can dig into that. Here, let me pull this up. Yeah, it's all around like new earnings tech and upgrades. So yeah, essentially what we're working on is, and this will probably be like a month to like 2 months to roll it out. We'll probably have the initial models ready in like a week or two. But it'll maybe take us some time to actually roll it out, get it in production, like how do you guys feel this? But this is some of the core stuff that we're working on to actually make Web3 gaming work. And it's going to tie into the ecosystem that we're building too. So basically what we're working on is like figuring out through data science who's a bot, who's not a bot, and who are good players and who are not good players, and like who are the right people to give the earnings to. My goal for you guys is if you're a dedicated player, I want to increase your earnings. I want to give out less pixel to bots, less pixel to people macroing, less pixel to people who are not really in it because they love the game. I want to give more pixel out to people who actually love the game and who are, you know, playing it in like the ways that we think are going to like increase all the metrics that we want to see. So what's cool about this is like it's not necessarily spend that's the most important thing, right? So how the economics of like Web3 gaming works, in my opinion, is it looks a little bit like free to play, where free to play, how it works is basically people will spend so much money advertising a free to play game, right? Typical budget for a free to play game is to like spend, you know, a couple million on development of the game and like $10 million a month on advertising. And instead of spending $10 million a month on advertising, Pixels is paid $0 in paid marketing lifetime to date. We can, you know, use earnings as our growth driver. And if you're running ads, it's really, really important to, you know, actually target the ads to the right people. And the same way you have to do that with earnings too. You have to give earnings to people who actually probably want to be using inside of the game. But what's interesting is like a free to play player base is made up of a bunch of different people. Not everybody in free to play games pay money, and that's completely fine. That's how the business model works, right? And in the same way, like I do think in Web3 gaming, there can be net earners, right? There do have to be some people that want to spend inside of the game because they love the game, but it doesn't have to be everybody. So the sharper that we get this tech, the more earnings we can give out to the players that are interested in that, and the more like targeted we can get with that too. And I think that brings up a little drama and topic I wanted to dive into because I think it's worth addressing a little bit. Here we go. Actual players getting banned, yet top one player being a macro abuser runs free. So yeah, there was a little drama in the Pixels community this last week. One, we did a really big bot farm ban, and this ban, like I will say, was pretty effective. I stand by it, to be completely honest. There were basically like 10 full-time bot farms that actually employed people. It's kind of crazy. These bot farms were employing people. Like these people are getting paid on payroll. And you know, we caught them. It's against the terms of service. They know what they were doing was not allowed by the rules, and you know, that's the agreement that you make when you play with Pixels, right? So don't create a bot farm, because if we catch you, you know, we're going to shut it down. We're going to ban these accounts. We have to do it because it's fair to the players. Also, it's like the responsible thing that we have to do when it comes to earnings, token emissions, all this kind of stuff as well. Now, we did see an accusation that one of the top players inside of the game was potentially using macros, all this kind of stuff. What I can say is like we actually looked at this very seriously. The team did like a basically one-on-one investigation of this user. What I can say is like there was actually no definitive proof that this user is using macros or anything like that. You know, if you want to get like a further breakdown on what we did and looked at there, then we can kind of dive into it. But I mean, yeah, if you want to watch that video for your guys' self and like look at the case presented, the reality is there is no video of this user using macros, any of that too. So this kind of stuff is actually really important. We do take this really seriously. If you report users, we do look into it. This one, you know, we can't make the case. I will say we'll be watching, and we'll be like keeping an eye out on top players, top earners. We already do this, right? We already look at like the top earners inside of the game pretty consistently to see like, is there something fishy going on? And yeah, I will say like a large focus of ours is actually on like industrial bot farms too. But yeah, macros, all of that kind of stuff too. It's unfortunate because we do catch users using macros sometimes. And, sometimes it is just like one player that's using a macro, and we do have to ban them because it is unfair. It's against the rules. And it always makes me really sad because sometimes it's like long-standing community members too. But yeah, what I will say is just because you're at the top of the game, the leaderboard, or if you're like a well-known Pixels player, if you're using a macro, you will get banned if we have sufficient proof to do it. But we do have a process here. We have to like make sure we really know too. So that's the official statement on all of this. No wrongdoing found yet. We took it very seriously, and we'll be watching still.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just reading all your feedback. Yeah, like Luke said, we'll keep an eye out. We take this stuff very, very seriously. It hasn't been a fun few days diving into all these things because it can be really upsetting to see if some of our top players are using these systems that are against the rules. But yeah, okay. Is there something specific you wanted to dive into? Because on the flip side, we do have something pretty fun that we've promised for this AMA, which is our giveaway. If you guys entered it, I hope you did because it's closed now. We got the winner all ready to go. I'm all ready. Okay, let me pull it up. Let's do that. Okay, I should have done this before. Here we go. Okay, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, we ran a fun little start to the spooky season giveaway of a Pixels pet. It will be type doggo. And I think it was like a year and a half ago, I want to say, we did this fun little, it was honestly like it wasn't one of our first quests, but it was like early days of quests, which is crazy. And we placed to celebrate Friday the 13th. We placed a bunch of black cats around Terravilla, and we said, go take a screenshot of yourself with the black cats and post it in this comment section, and then random user will be chosen. And I think back then it was like 2,000 berry was the prize, which is a major throwback. So to celebrate spooky season, we thought we'd bring back this haunting memory of this giveaway. Okay, so we pulled the winner with a random picker as usual. Here is the tweet post, and here is our winner. So congratulations to Japay. The official Pixels account will DM you on Twitter, and we'll get that doggo sent over to you. Yeah, so congratulations. And I actually want to hear your feedback on this stuff too. Like, do you guys like doing these fun little social quests? They're very quick. They take you like 5 minutes to participate in. The rewards are relatively lower because, you're only taking 5 minutes to do the activity. So, we can only really justify giving out one pet. Do you like this kind of stuff? Because I think they're really fun and easy, and they just get people participating and like having fun. The side of these things that I don't enjoy is when I post the winner and I get like 100 negative reacts on Discord. Be happy for each other, okay? Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Anyways, okay, congratulations to, I think, Japay. I'm gonna say Japay, the official account. The official account will be in touch. Yeah, on Twitter. Okay, cool. Let's dive into some more questions here.
Yeah, okay. One more comment, because I'm seeing more comments on this. Clearing his land is proof enough that he's guilty of using macros. Guys, it's not proof. That's all I can say. Yeah. I think, like, yeah, if you ostracize somebody in the community enough, he's probably going to leave and not be there anyways. But, I mean, what I will say is, like, again, our number one priority is getting more earnings to more users, right? Like, think about it, guys. Having happy players and a strong, healthy player base is more important than taking care of like one player who is at the top. But like our priority is on like the average player, right? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to basically build out systems that protect the average player. And, you know, we have done big bans. There's a lot of angry people in this chat that had been botting, which is unfortunate, right? I mean, like if you think about the scale of like some of the bot farms, you know, there were like maybe 10 companies employing like a bunch of people to do these bot farms, right? So you're going to have these people in these comments, right? Because now, you know, they're not making the same income from pixels botting as they used to be. So that's some of the negative comments in here sometimes. But yeah, we'll move on now. So here, let's dive into some of the ecosystem stuff that we're working on, because there is some cool stuff here I want to talk about and touch on, because yeah, we have some cool stuff in the works here. So in terms of ecosystem, we do have a Telegram game coming. We just got the bot live last night, I think. So I think we're going to start actually promoting it and like diving into everything early next week. It's gonna be really fun. Essentially, how this Telegram game is going to work is we're going to release a Telegram game. We're going to do like a few experiments with it. You guys are free to play it, and I think we're going to do some small leaderboard rewards with it as well too. So it'll be like a fun little experiment for us. I think I want to dive into like why we're doing this too, because I think some people see that we're like, you know, getting some other stuff out, and they're like, why are you doing this when Pixels is so broken? How could you like be focused on this other stuff? All of this ties in together, guys, is what I want to say. So with Pixels, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build out the play to earn company, right? Like that's what we're trying to be here. We're trying to be like the Zynga, the Scopely of gaming, and build out like a company that is generationally defining. And we think that happens through building out play to earn, right? A lot of the games companies that are like huge now, they did some kind of innovation to get them there. So Zynga, they were the first to really integrate like social gaming and do Facebook sharing and really hack the big data side of things. Scopely is a really good example of a company that got really, really good at like crazy offer technology and figuring out, you know, how to basically like get more people retained inside of the game longer through like a bunch of data science and like crazy psychology. Match3 is a good example of a company that like introduced live ops to casual gaming. And we want to be the gaming company that really introduces play to earn in a sustainable way to the world, right? And if we pull that off, it's huge, right? This is still the early stages of all of this. So what we're trying to figure out right now is basically like a couple different things. One, how do we like 10x the experiences that are available to all of our players right now and give you guys like more things to do? How do we use Pixel more inside the ecosystem? And then how do we actually connect all this core infrastructure that we're building to build an amazing company too? So a lot of the stuff we're building inside the Pixels is related to the Pixels game, but it also is going to be accelerated if we get some more use cases as well too. Like the core tech and infrastructure that we're building around is essentially this earnings tech. Like how do we get earnings to the right people to grow the ecosystem? And how do we actually get people to use the Pixel token in the way that will actually grow the ecosystem too? So there's two things that we need for that. We need good games. We need good experiences. We need like solid things that people want to be using the Pixel token to earn. So one of the things that we're talking about a lot lately is getting more stuff on chain. We've been saying this word chase content a lot, right? So chase content is basically content inside of the game that you might want to earn that isn't just the Pixel token. And I think the best example of chase content inside of the game right now is the pets, right? It's something that you really all want inside of the game, right? Like you guys will like do a lot of stuff to try to earn a pet. And you'll even maybe spend some Pixel to earn the pet too, right? And part of that is because it's on chain and you can trade it in a secondary marketplace, do whatever you want with it. It's not up to us what you do with it. You own the asset, right? There's something really interesting about the ownership angle if we start to put more stuff on chain. So what we want to start to do is build out more of this ecosystem tech too, and get more of the stuff that's inside of Pixels right now on chain, and even have like interoperability besides other experiences as well on chain too. So yeah, some of the stuff we're working on, again, is just like earnings tech, getting like big data driven around all of this. We're finally going to start to see some like pretty concrete stuff there soon, which I'm so excited about. I've been talking about this for so long. Finally have the right people coming on to help us with this. We're starting to get some models made. And you're going to start to actually see what that looks like in production. We're really the first play there in game to do this, which is cool. And this is a huge head start. The reason why we're able to do this is because we have so many players. We have like a year of like data between like, you know, we've been labeling accounts bought, not bought. So we can start to pull their other data, build some even stronger insights from that. We have like spend inside of the game that we can start to make some insights around. We have different types of players. We have so much data that we can start to build some like pretty cool tech around here to actually get earnings to the right people. And in addition to that too, we're working on some other stuff. Like we want to get more stuff on chain. We want to get more games inside the ecosystem. The Telegram is the first one, but we actually have some other stuff we're going to start kicking off too. And we're really interested in getting the Pixel chain out now too. I came away from Token even more convinced that a side chain adjacent to the Ronin network, basically like, working with the Ronin network, having like Pixels be on Ronin, but also having some of our own stuff on chain is going to be super interesting. Basically things where you can basically just use the Pixel token to transact. So things like, in-game cosmetics or in-game things that would work just between our games. So example, if we like release the Tamagotchi app, right, they use pets inside of the game. Having that link between our other games, using the Pixel token, having Pixel being the token that's used on marketplaces, things like that is like a pretty interesting thing. So all of this is getting built together to build out something that is, one, going to make the Pixel's core game even stronger, because the things that you use inside of this game might be used in others. Like for example, if you're in the pet inside of this game, and this is the only way to earn the pets, then you have it used in the Tamagotchi app. That's sweet. If we have like another thing that land is used in, having like a cross web of all these things that we're doing, that's kind of the idea. And having this on chain, having more things for the Pixel token to do, makes the earnings inside of the core Pixels game stronger. This is not like to take away from anything that we're doing inside the core game, right? Like this is all with the intention of making what we have even stronger, right? So basically making it so that there's more compelling things to earn inside of the game besides just the token, so that you guys have more things to use the token on to earn. And have more experiences too. So if you get bored of like the core Pixels game, that also gives you more things to do inside of this ecosystem that respects the time and energy that you put in. Like for example, any game that we release, like they're going to share a reputation system. They're going to share like a lot of the on-chain stuff. They're going to share like some of the cool stuff that we built there too. So for example, if you have high reputation in the Pixels core game, then if we have another game with earnings, for example, you get more earnings there, you get like boosts, things like that. So yeah, it's all with the intention of making what we have stronger and really accelerating all of it. But again, core focus on everything that we're doing here. It's on this game. This is what you guys are playing now. This is what you guys are interacting with. This is where our audience is. We're just trying to make this as good as possible and as amazing as possible.
Okay, I don't know if it's maybe because you mentioned it and I didn't hear it, but guys, I've been asking the team for this so many times.
Yeah.
So many times.
I don't know. I made the team play Roblox the other day. I love what Roblox is doing, to be honest. Like I think Roblox is actually the closest thing to like a Web3 game or a metaverse out in the wild right now. There's some really, really interesting stuff going on there. If you've ever played Roblox, they're so funny, some of the games. There actually are some Roblox players in Pixels. And some people were making fun of me for playing it the other day. They saw that on my Discord I was playing Roblox. But it's actually like, that's part of my job. We go and like
People
research other games.
bring that up. Okay, just to look, yes, we play other games. Obviously, we play other games. We need to play other games, especially our designers, and Luke does a lot. Now, the one I get called out for all the time is that I always am playing Aseprite. Do your research. It's a pixel art program. Mostly because I have to slightly tweak or fix a lot of UGC art. So anyways, it's always so funny when people were like, the team isn't even playing Pixels. It's like, we have to play all these other games. Also, pixel art. Anyways, I'm sorry. I have this conversation like every day. So okay, this was really funny. I think this was like a really early comment that you pinned when Christmas event. Oh. Guys, it's October 2nd. Speaking of October though, Halloween. We love Halloween. So I was actually 15 minutes before this AMA started, I was on a call with our art team specking out a bunch of art that we're going to need for some fun little Halloween activities that we're planning. So there's the tea. I'm really excited on that. Obviously, you guys know I love those themed holiday adjacent events. So yeah, there should be some Halloween little things coming out over the next few weeks. Not Christmas. It's not Christmas. Don't say that. I have so much to do before Christmas, so don't say that.
Oh, somebody, this is a good question. What will you do to prevent coin inflation? Here, let me see if I can pull up this chart. So actually, some of the stuff that we did recently with bot wave bans, let me pull this up. Here, was actually really effective in combating inflation. So this is a chart of coin creation every single day. Try to guess when we started to like really crack down on some of the botters that were generating like coins from wine. Happened right around this date, September 23rd. And you can see it actually like the pretty big dent in inflation, about like a 50% reduction in inflation. So inflation is driven by a couple things. There's some of the basic game econ. There's also a side of like bot prevention, macro detection, all of this kind of stuff that we're doing that is putting pretty big dents in it as well. And then the stuff that we're doing with the data science and segmentation is going to be really interesting as well. I think we're going to get even better at some of the bot prevention and detection when we start to introduce some of this. Like we're about to do some crazy like machine learning stuff there. And we have such an amazing data set to do this. We already did like a really rudimentary first go at this. Now we're putting even more resources into this. The first time we started introducing some of these ML models for the bot prevention side of things and like closing their pixel faucet, it actually made a pretty big impact on median earnings of pixel per player. And yeah, we're getting a lot more data driven around all of this. It's fun.
Okay, I've seen a few questions about reputation. So, we're actually a part of the Chapter 2 rewrite. There's going to be a huge update to the reputation system. So stay tuned for that. I know it's been a while with some players that are missing like only a handful of points to be able to participate in various areas of the game. So I'm excited for that update to come out. And like I said, it'll be in this Chapter 2 rewrite. So it should be over the next several weeks or a month or so.
Oh yeah, introduce tags like grinder, casual, pro, and get these tags that give missions. The bigger the tag, the longer it takes to get the tag, the higher the earning chance. So yeah, there's a couple things we're gonna do here. There's gonna be some stuff that we do on the back end with this. Like that's when I say segmentation. I get so technical sometimes. I'm sorry. Some people like when I get technical, some people don't. Segmentation is a lot of the work on the back end that we're doing with basically earnings and targeted earnings. So when we start doing some of these earnings, what we're trying to basically think about when we're talking about smart earnings are basically like classifying some players in like a different play style that they have. There's gonna be a part of that we do on the back end. So like we're not gonna tell somebody if we label them a bot, right? That's not helpful. And that's like something that should probably be hidden. But then there's other things that might be interesting to expose on the front end. Things like, you know, if you're a grinder, if you're a casual, if you're a pro. I like the idea of that. And that's like one of the things we're debating with reputation right now too. The reputation system is going to get pretty reworked. Well, it is already reworked. We just haven't released it yet. And there's some things that are going to be pretty cool about it. Like a lot of the reputation changes that we wanted to make and automate before, we're finally automating. So a good example of that is like coin trading. Like we know how a lot of bots behave. What they'll do is they'll like create like bot accounts that they're like kind of okay with getting banned. They'll like level them up a little bit. They'll get some coins from it, and then they'll send them to collector accounts. What we can start to do is we can actually start to see, hey, has this player traded with like a bunch of people in one direction, only getting coins? We can already like tag them as a collector and then make it like, you know, harder for them to trade, or we can start taxing trades. That's gonna be one of the things that we start doing too with coin inflation. So if you have high reputation, you're not going to get taxed a lot on the trade. If you have low reputation because you're doing stuff like that, you're going to get taxed more on trades. So it's going to like cut back some of the coins they can trade between people. Yeah, there's some cool stuff there. But yeah, we love this. Part of the debate is like, how much do we expose on the front end of this? This is a good question too. What about the balance of task forward rewards? There's no point in doing the task forward and you get 6x coins by selling them on the market. I mean, yeah, that's like, I can't speak on this too much, but that's like part of this too, right? So one, we're making like a change to the task board where like some of the things are gonna, like, they're not balanced. Like if I do a certain skill from like this tier to this tier, I'm gonna earn more coins than something else. The changes to the task board are gonna make this so much more consistent where everything's gonna make sense, I promise. Where it's like, okay, I level up more, I earn more coins. Like that's gonna be it basically. And it's gonna make sense through the whole progression. That's why we had to do a whole rewrite around it. But the other point to bring up too is, we want to make it so that there's like other compelling things to earn besides just Pixel, right? If we get coin inflation under control, it also makes sense to earn coins, right? Like you're going to want them more. They're going to be harder to get. If you have coins, it's going to be better that you have them. So yeah.
Okay, we have like a minute left here. Was there any other questions? I think we've gone through a lot of good stuff today. People always ask for a VIP giveaway. Guys, we gave away a pet, okay?
Yeah. Why not bring Barry back on chain and all on chain? Look at Pirate Nation, Lumitera. Okay, a couple things with this. So one, Pirate Nation shut down because they couldn't handle the bot prevention and detection. I love them. I really like that team, but you're starting to see other teams actually run into the core issues of Web3 gaming, right? And this is it. So having some of the stuff on chain is actually really, really hard until you move to like other solutions. How I view decentralization is I think it needs to be gradual for this reason. The reality is people haven't figured out this part of Web3 gaming yet. So until you figure out things like bot prevention and detection and all this data science around it, the game economy will break if you have it all on chain at the very beginning, right? Barry was great. We loved Barry, but also it was really scary. It was inflating like 3% a day. 3% inflation a day is like 90% a month, right? And the economics of Barry, it's interesting because it was like kind of holding steady in price. But that was really just because new players were coming into the game and it was going to like basically go into SLP 2.0 if we didn't do something about it. And you're already seeing that with coins too, right? We made some pretty good strides on coin inflation. And like we're actually making some great progress right now. I wouldn't feel comfortable putting it back on chain until this is like completely under control, right? So all the stuff that we're doing will get us there. And like I actually do want to bring coins back on chain or bring Barry back at some point, but you have to do these steps first, right? Lumitera I actually think is a really good example though of some of the power of like putting more stuff on chain. I saw Lumitera and I'm like, dang, yeah, we do need more on chain. Like there is a lot to learn from that. I mean, yeah, that's like kind of the direction that we're going to start to go. So that's going to be kind of that'll be the progression. And that's like why we're interested in getting some more stuff on Ronin, why we're also interested in like doing some stuff on a Pixel chain potentially too. But yeah, the idea is we're going to start with the high value items on chain. So things like apiaries are a really good example. Things like some of the really limited cosmetics are a great example too. And then we can start to get more and more on chain slowly. I think in-game currency is going to be one of the last things. As powerful as it is, it's also the highest risk, right? Like what we don't want is we don't want people to be dumb and like buy too much of an on-chain currency that is really inflationary where they might not know everything about it, right? We don't want to get anybody into trouble, right? Like, I saw what happened with SLP and it was one of those things that was like terrifying me. Like, oh, are we going to do the same thing with Barry, right? But yeah, luckily we were able to like turn that into a pretty good situation with the Pixel token.
Okay. Yeah, is there any last minute things you wanted to cover? I think we can. Me too. Me too. Go nag the team. We're waiting on the art. It's on them. Go spam Huntao. I give you permission. I was on a call with Huntao this morning. I'm sure he'd love it. Just okay. Okay, I think we can wrap it up there then. Yeah, thank you guys
Lots
all.
of good stuff today. I mean, yeah, so here's like the takeaway, right? Updates coming. You're gonna start to see a lot more consistently come out now. Gave a date. So we'll have something out by that date at least. And then we're going to start to do rolling updates really consistently too. We finally have a backlog of things so we can start to release, which is super exciting. Guys, it's been so painful the last like month or two when we didn't have the stuff we wanted to release. It's changing now. So now we actually have stuff that is like concrete, actionable, moves the needle and gets stuff forward. It's going to be a fun rest of the year, I think. Especially like we're going to build the trust of you guys back. I know it's going to take a little bit of time. But like once we start getting these updates out, we prove to you guys we can like ship fast again. We can get these updates out quickly. I think some of the sentiment's going to change back.
I'm sorry, I just saw this. This is definitely UGC. What is this gonna look like? What is that? It's gonna be one of your chewed up bubblegum whales in Mona Lisa form. I just know it. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.